All right, so today is really the beginning of the family camp, okay? And so what we want to do today is we're going to look at a video, but before we do that, before we look into the video, I want to just bring out things into the open, okay? Because when you bring out things into the open, even if it's a little uncomfortable, okay, it prevents Satan from attacking. All right, so it's important to talk about these things early, okay? You know, I stand in a position, especially the young kids, like their spiritual father, so I have to speak to them like I would speak to my daughter, or I would speak to them like my sons. Okay? And so we got to keep it real. We got to keep it. We can't let these things just hide and pretend things will go good or things will be fine. In past camps, both in Christian camps, any religious camps, even family-fed camps, etc., there have been sexual issues that pop up during camp. And don't pretend you don't know about it because those things exist, okay? There have been sexual predation during camps too. So boys, you got to watch out. There's some girls that may try to prey on you and rape you. You understand? Girls, you got to watch out. There may be some boys out to get you and try to have sex with you. So you can't be stupid about it. You got to be honest about it. You got to be real about it. You got to understand people are not perfect beings, even though they are on the right side, okay, or even though they appear to be good, okay? If you don't know the person, if you don't know some adult and he's saying, come with me, you don't go with them, all right? That's simple, right, kids? That's a basic thing. Just because we have a camp of sanctuary people coming together doesn't mean no mishaps can happen, right? You understand that, right? So it's important for kids, be aware of the reality, and also we're on a public camp. We're in a national park, so it's not only people in our camp. There's also people all over the place. There may be people drinking booze. There may be people partying. There may be people, running around in string bikinis, trying to do, you don't know what the heck's going on. This is a public camp, okay? So what you have to do is you have to keep your wits about yourself, keep your mind on your shoulders, and you have to be aware, right? Don't be a brainless zombie saying, oh, kind of even, trust everybody here, huh? No, don't be dumb, right? You are in a public area. You got to watch out, right? You also have wackos that can come into the restroom and try to film you and do stuff like this with the whole transgender issue. You got to be aware of yourself. Okay, if you're traveling to some place where you feel, wait a minute, that doesn't look so good, listen to your sixth sense. And say, wait a minute, maybe I'll go with two of my friends. Or maybe I'm going to ask my brother to come with me. Okay? Don't be going, oh, okay, I'm a little red boundary and run to the woods and dark woods. Oh. Keep your mind on your head. Okay? Don't lose it. All right, so in the camps, if we don't talk about these things from the beginning and just bring them out in the open, what happens? We have all sorts of wacky things that can happen behind the scenes, and nothing was mentioned about that, and the Satan can come and try to tempt you to do this or that, things you wouldn't do otherwise. But when everybody's on alert, and helping each other with healthy pressure, then everybody's supporting each other, and you're supporting other people too, by being on alert, being a responsible, mature person. Does that make sense? Okay? So be aware of yourself. Be careful. Okay? Notice that there are going to be, different types of, temptations that will arise. Also, kids from other camps may try to, talk with you, tempt you, whatever. Right? That are in the vicinity. It's a public national park. Okay? It is not a private land, etc. Okay, so be aware of that. Everybody has to be aware of that. Right? Like this morning, I go out, we have rabbits that were beautiful, beautiful rabbits, just gorgeous rabbits. One of them just had babies, 8 babies. All of them died. All of them died because the mommy actually ate them. She killed them. She stomped them and she bit them to pieces. It's probably because we handled the babies. That is a mistake. Okay, so that is our 5% mistake there. But then the mommy had all the babies. They end up all dying. And they're the cutest bunny rabbits, the absolute cutest things. They're super, 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 super fuzzy, super, super, super cute, okay? Then one of the mom gets out at night. And at 4 in the morning, we hear these blood-curdling screams. Around 4 o'clock, you're like, what the heck is that? Who is that? What the heck is that? And we go out there, and the bunny rabbit, and we went out this morning, and just along the path, the stone path, there is a bunny rabbit. Her neck was ripped off. A fox came and ripped her head off. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because, and I brought this over to my wife too, because she has these cute little Korean, animations that she likes. And in the Korean animation, you got your little rabbit, and he's, and then, he's like picnicking with a wolf and like a fox. And, coffee, Mr. Fox? Yes, rabbit, coffee. Right? And they have their little, checkered, white and red checkered, little mat, and their little, basket, and their little picnic. And then, or they're watching the stars together. Oh, look at this, and the rabbit is playing with the fox. I said, yes, in nature, he's playing with the fox, he's playing with the rabbit because he's going to be ready to eat him in about 5 minutes. Right? That's the reality of the world. So don't live in fantasy land. Stay in reality land. Right? Don't live in fantasy. Oh, I'm going to be playing with the black bears in camp. You don't want to be playing with no black bears in camp. You want to get eaten? You're going to be playing with black bears. That's your business. But we warned you. Okay? When you come to wild, there's laws of nature which you cannot get around, no matter how fantastical your imagination is. Right? So let's keep it real. Let's keep it, aware. And know that even not only the wild animals, but also there are potential predators that are two-legged in those areas too. Does that make sense, folks? Okay? So young people, have your wits about yourself. Protect yourself. This is a temple of God. That's your responsibility. Temple of God. If you see something happening, if anybody tries to put your hand on you, whatever, you scream, you shout, you howl, you fight for your life, and you get out of there. You do what you gotta do. You do what you have to do. All right? Whether they're ripping the testicles out, whatever, stabbing his eyes, you gotta do what you gotta do to stay alive and protect yourself. That's your right and that's your duty. If we're aware, probably nothing bad will happen, which is great, right? That's what we want, right? But at the same time, it doesn't mean we put our guard down, okay? That's my point. Does that make sense? So let's just keep that wit about ourselves and be, aware while we're having a great time studying the Word and spending great time with great people, okay? All right. So now, after that said, today I want to share a video with you, which is kind of the beginning of whenever I do apologetic study with people, I start with this video. This video is fantastic. Because really in apologetics, there's different levels of apologetics, okay? The first kind of level is the question, is there a God? And I know most of you in this room don't have that question, okay? Don't wrestle with that issue. But there's many of you in this room, whether you state it or not, that do wrestle with this issue, and especially if you're a young person, you most certainly will wrestle with this, okay? Probably 95+%. If you're within the top 5% that don't wrestle with this issue, you're blessed. You're blessed, okay? Nothing wrong with you, you're blessed. That's, you have blessing. But there's a lot of people that wrestle with this issue, and it's probably, many factors. But of course, we are inundated in normal society, media, internet, etc., with things that make us doubt God. That makes sense? Is all of this, because if God doesn't exist, well then everything really doesn't matter in terms of, Jesus, or in terms of true Father, in terms of Adam and Eve, that really doesn't make any sense if God does not exist. All right? So what we'll do tomorrow is we're going to actually go into apologetics proper and go into the proofs, the evidences for God's existence. We'll also go through very, very, very sophisticated, high-level atheist rebuttals towards those arguments, and we'll study that tomorrow. But before we do that, I want to start with a video by a pastor named Pastor Timothy Keller. This man helped me tremendously, not personally, but with his works and his books. Because for myself, having studied, Eastern religions, Buddhism and things like this, that don't necessarily require a God or a supernatural being, supernatural creator, I always had an unsatisfied, it was not satisfying in the sense that in the end of the equation, did God exist or not, was not fulfilled through those studies of Eastern religions. So when I was studying philosophy and all those kind of things, I eventually got a hold of some debates online by Dr. William Lane Craig, who is probably one of the foremost apologetics, thinkers and professors. And he was debating the top atheists over the world. I mean, he went to Oxford and debated, Dawkins, I believe. He went and Dawkins didn't show up. He debated Christopher Hitchens. He debated some of the top evolutionary biologists at some of the major universities. You can just look him up online. William Lane Craig versus atheists, things like that. Tons of debates. I mean, just dozens and dozens and dozens of debates. And through these debates, I could see that first of all, believing in God was not as simple-minded as atheists present. Every single one of those arguments, of course, which are not tenable. They're totally easy to shoot down. But we don't go into that today. In that whole vein of apologetics, Dr. William Lane Craig, Dr. Alvin Plantinga, Pastor Timothy Keller, these kind of people are on the forefront of actually engaging atheism in obviously a nonviolent debate forum, where they actually call out atheists, say, okay, if you're very confident in your view, come out and publicly debate us. Okay? And they will debate these people. And of course, the crowd and the audience is able to make decisions by what they hear, the both sides are presented. So it's a very academic, very respectful form of debate. It's a very, there's no personal attacks. These things are seen as very low quality in debates, right? So it's a very academic style debate. That whole field just blew my mind. Because the battle for whether or not God does exist or not shapes your entire worldview. It shapes your life choices. Really has huge impacts and repercussions on it. This video that we'll see is a speech, apologetic speech, given by Pastor Tim Keller. And this is what I always show this before we study apologetics, at a church. And he's explaining the different points of a theistic worldview and going through some of the issues with the atheistic worldview. Now, he's just touching on some of the surface issues. Okay? Tomorrow, we will go in depth in the 5 major arguments or evidences for God's existence. But in this video, he's just touching on some of those things. Okay? But this is definitely a resource that anybody who is serious about whether or not God is there or not, serious about, even if you say, I don't know, I'm an agnostic, or even if there's atheists out there, say, I'm an atheist, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you're doing that, you're doing it by faith, and is it logical? Are you being logical? Have you actually seen the arguments for the other side? Or are you too scared? Is it too comfortable? Okay? So Tim Keller, we're going to look at that just briefly. I just want to mention, in this whole field, Dr. Keller, he doesn't mention in this video, but he usually mentions that there's 3 major reasons why any person will adopt a type of worldview or faith. One, the first reason will be, one, intellectual, so that there are rational proofs for their belief. Even if you believe in atheism, some atheists believe there are rational proofs for being atheists. Secondly, there's a personal dimension, okay? Personal dimension stating that, I believe in God, not only for intellectual reasons, but because I've had these personal encounters, okay? On the atheist side, I believe in atheism because this is that intellectual reason, plus I have personal reasons why, maybe when I was young, this kid at church really, made me angry, or this minister is like this or that, or this church, is like this. And then the third reason why we adopt certain worldviews and or ideologies is socio-cultural. It's a sociological reason, okay? So it is that we see a certain group that we want to be part of, and then we are much more easily, we will become more malleable to the views and values held by that certain view, by that group. So let's say we're now in the city where, hey, I'm free from my parents. Woo, I'm free. I'm in the city now. Yeah, I'm going to college in the city. Now I can hang out with all these kids, and they're all atheists, and yeah, they party hardy and all that kind of thing. All this kind of stuff, right? Now you want to be part of this new group that you aspire to be with, or people that you want to be with, maybe that are quite different from your past. And so that group will then shape your views, and you'll have a socio-cultural transformation, because essentially you want to sociologically fit into that new group that you're trying to get into. Okay? So there's always these three reasons, both on the theistic and both on the atheistic. If you were an atheist and all of a sudden now you're a theist, you're stronger, you have a robust faith, well, now you see a group of people that you respect, you think are honorable, and now you want to be like. So you will adopt those values and that culture, etc. Does that make sense? Okay? So admitting that up front is important. Okay? To sort of say, oh, religious people are just slaves to peer pressure and their religious communities. And we atheists are free thinkers, and we're not peer pressured into certain ideologies. That's bull. That's total bull. Most people become atheists because they are social-cultural. Element is very heavy, especially when they go into universities and settings where atheism is very high. Okay? So that claim from the beginning that only religious people have sociological, cultural reasons and or personal reasons, but atheists only have intellectual reasons is totally dishonest. It's intellectually dishonest. It's sociologically dishonest. It's personally dishonest. Okay? It's fraud. It's total fraud. There's always, on both sides, there are those three particular reasons, intellectual, personal, and sociological, that play into a person adopting a certain worldview and or framework. Does that make sense?